Imagine that you got the chance to write for one of the most popular TV shows in the world, but you hated the main character. Well, then you might just be a writer for SpongeBob SquarePants. And this isn't even a case where the writers love to hate SpongeBob, like the Muppet Company did with Bunny Bean. You can tell that the SpongeBob team straight up hates every second this yellow sponge has to be on screen. Most modern episodes have SpongeBob being the most annoying person to both the other characters and to the audience. His careless actions are often what kickstarts the main conflict, and everyone in the show is constantly talking about just how much they despise having to have SpongeBob around. Geez, Writer Dan, is there something you're trying to get off your chest? But what is it that makes the writers hate SpongeBob so darn much? Well, for starters, even though SpongeBob seems simple on the surface, he's a surprisingly difficult character to write. Take a look at this moment from Season 1.
Ready to go? No, I'm not ready to go.
He doesn't want to play with us.
No, Patrick, he's just not ready. How about now?
No! Huh?
Now?
No!
How about now?
No!
Now?
No!
Now?
No!
Now?
No!
Now?
No! What?
Ready yet?
This moment is a balancing act for SpongeBob's character. On the one hand, we understand Squidward's perspective and can see how SpongeBob is being annoying. But we can also see SpongeBob's perspective. He's optimistic and assumes the best in people, so of course he doesn't think Squidward is trying to tell him to go away. This moment could have easily tilted either towards Squidward being an unreasonable jerk or SpongeBob being overly annoying, and yet it manages to balance both. This is such a simple interaction, and the audience probably isn't going to care much about it. But when you have a lot of these small and well thought out moments, you get the audience to understand both how SpongeBob means well, but also how he can come off as annoying to others. And that's the tough part to get right about SpongeBob. His childlike personality is supposed to create friction between the more adult characters, like Squidward, Mr. Krabs, and even Sandy. But SpongeBob being childish was itself never the problem. That's why in the early seasons of the show, you could almost always understand both sides of any conflict. But the modern episodes have taken a notable shift, tilting the scale towards SpongeBob being unbearably annoying. So how did this happen? Well, early SpongeBob had most of its comedy come from funny situations and interactions between the characters. But after Season 3 and the first movie, the show slowly shifted away from this style. And when it did, exaggerated reactions became the main form of comedy in the show. There's a lot of reasons why this shift could have happened, but I think the biggest reason is that the writers just don't have the time to write a compelling script. Big reaction for 10 seconds is a lot faster than writing a funny dialogue that's also 10 seconds long. And you can tell just how much the scripts are rushed because of the many shortcuts taken to force the plot forward.
Using her versatile tail, the Texas land squirrel calls out to the natural enemy of the octopus, the whale.
What?
As a result, we can't understand SpongeBob's perspective anymore, because now every reaction is an overreaction for him. And that just turned him into a nuisance to the other characters. Because now SpongeBob doesn't just laugh, he has to laugh for way too long. He can't be a little naive, he has to be high on stupid juice. And SpongeBob can't just do something that pushes people's buttons, he has to be a straight-up menace to the people around him. Giving these characters big reactions throws off that balance that made them work so well. It was those carefully crafted moments that made them feel relatable and even human. And SpongeBob, the character with the most personality, is one of the biggest victims of this change. To see what I mean, let's look at two scenes back to back. One is from an old season of SpongeBob, the other is from a newer season.
Okay, one more. Okay, that's enough. Let's go.
Oh, wait! I think this one starts it!
Patrick, what are you doing? I'm the space traveler here, and I happen to know that that particular button is right over here.
You started the rocket!
Patrick, you heard Sandy. We shouldn't touch this, or this, or this, or this, or this, or this! And under no circumstances should you ever touch this. Boink.
Both of these scenes have the same setup. Sandy told these two not to touch anything, and they did. In the first clip, SpongeBob accidentally pressed a button while he and Patrick were playing around. Now there was a lot of build-up beforehand to get us to this moment. We see the chain of events play out so that we can understand how SpongeBob got to the point of launching Sandy's rocket. In the second clip, the humor is coming from exaggeration. SpongeBob can't just press one button, he needs to press every button over and over until Sandy's portal opens. This gag takes up quite a bit of time, and it makes it easier for the writers to just get to the conflict. But it makes SpongeBoy look dumb and like he doesn't care about other people's property. Because, he doesn't. And just take a wild guess at which scene took less time to write. Ding ding, we have a winner. And I think this use of exaggeration is also why it doesn't work when the writers try to have SpongeBob express different emotions. Now, I think it's great when SpongeBob has a variety of emotions. He shouldn't be positive all the time. But now, SpongeBob can't just get angry, he has to explode. But when he lashes out at every little thing like this, it feels completely wrong for his character. And surprise, surprise, fans didn't like SpongeBob being a bully. And as a result, the writers stopped trying to give him nuance, and went back to making him just annoying. And you can tell that after writing SpongeBob to be so irritating, that he started getting on the nerves of the people writing him as well. Because you have these scenes that feel like they're only there so that the writers can take their frustration out on this yellow sponge. And I do kind of get how irritating this would be as a writer. You have this character that you hate writing, and he technically has to be in the show. So what do? Well, at this point, the writers have basically turned SpongeBob into a background character. He's there, he talks, but instead of being an actual thinking character, the writers turned him into a tool that moves the plot forward. The writers dropped SpongeBob's IQ down to single digits, all so that he can start virtually any problem the writers want. Then the writers can have their other characters, mostly Sandy, solve that conflict. And right there, you have the plot to an episode. Rinse and repeat for another 10 seasons. But writing SpongeBob this way doesn't just take away from his own character, it also stripped away all those fun interactions he used to have with his friends. SpongeBob and Squidward used to be opposites. While Sponge always tried to see the best in everyone, Squid never even bothered. And some of the best moments in the entire show were them trying to understand one another. SpongeBob and Sandy had a fun rivalry, where they kept trying to one-up each other. This often meant someone would take things too far, but these two were the only ones who could match each other's competitive spirit. Patrick was often more negative than SpongeBob, but they thought the most alike, and they had the most activities they liked to do together. But with SpongeBob's exaggerated personality, his relationships with everyone devolved into SpongeBob annoys them. Patrick will sometimes take SpongeBob's role of tormenting others, or even pester SpongeBob to spice things up, but the writers basically treat him like a second SpongeBob. Hey, what a coincidence, they gave him his own show too. And if you really want to see just how little the modern writers care about SpongeBob, compare him to SpongeBob on the internet. That's safe for work! There are so many fan works and reimaginings made by people who grew up with this show. They either capture the spirit of SpongeBob at its peak, take these characters in completely new directions, or come up with new ways to interpret the show. And a lot of these works are actually really good. I think it all comes back to that main point. No matter what form SpongeBob takes in these fan works, you can tell the people who made them truly care about this character. He isn't made overly annoying or a dumb tool to move the plot forward. He's treated like an actual character with wants and feelings. This right here is the difference between loving a character versus meeting a quota. And I think the variety of works here also shows that a franchise like SpongeBob doesn't need to feel tired and repetitive. There are so many new things you can do with this character. You just have to do what the creator of SpongeBob did. Put enough passion into writing a character to get someone else to be passionate too. And if you want to see what it looks like when creators do care about a character, I posted links to some incredible SpongeBob fan works in both the description and the comments. So until next time, yeah,